Hey everyone, Shane here with etrailer.com. Today I have a 2014 Prime Time Acer Travel trailer. I want to walk through how to install the Solera Slide Topper. What are some of the reasons why we would want a slide topper on top of our slide out box? Well, for instance, this molding, it actually sticks out about 2.5 to 3 inches past our actual box. So that means the top side of it's open. It's open to trees, it's open to leaves, open to branches if we go somewhere camping where there are a lot of trees. But if we don't, it's still open to the water, to rain. When we take this box and we slide it inside, we don't get up and clean any of that off, where's all that stuff gonna go? It creates mold on top of the box, mold goes inside, leaves are gonna pack down on top of that box. If you don't clean them off, what happens is when you push the box in, it's gonna build up those leaves against this T-molding up here at the top. It's going to create a gap, potentially get water in there. Now you're getting water inside the camper, creating a whole lot of issues that you otherwise wouldn't have if you put a slide topper on. So now you can see with our canopy installed, we have plenty of coverage over top of our box. We don't have to worry about water getting on, water sitting up here, or leaves, any branches or anything like that. We can enjoy our camping as I mentioned before. The canopy itself is going to be a very durable vinyl construction. It's going to hold up in all weather conditions. It's going to come with all the necessary hardware to get them installed. All the hardware is going to match, so they come in black or white. Now to measure for the correct size slide topper, what you're going to do is you're going to measure from the outside edge of the T-molding on one side to the outside edge on the other. You're going to take that number, go to our fit guide, you're going to select that size canopy. A couple things you need to keep in mind. Let's say we have two slide boxes that are next to each other. Let's say, even though this is the window, let's say this is the edge of the other slide box. We need at least 7 inches from here over of space. So that means if we have slide box, we need 14 inches. So we need 7 inches on either. The reason we need that is the rail that sticks out of the top. If we have two slide boxes with two slide toppers on it, those two rails would hit each other. So if you have two next to each other, have 14 inches in between, you're gonna have to go down one size on one of them. Another example, let's say we have a slide out on the side with the front door. We have a canopy, our awning that slides out or comes out is right next to it. If that's the case, again, we need 7 inches of space in between our slide T-molding to whatever object is on that wall. If we don't have that, you're gonna have to go down a size on that box. Other than that, they're pretty simple and straightforward to install. Now that we've gone over some of the features, let's go ahead and show you how to get it done. To start your installation, you want to determine if you have an extrusion rail already on the camper. What the extrusion rail is, it's gonna have a slot in it, just like this. And what happens is the bead of the canopy will slide into this. This is gonna be attached to the wall. So what you're gonna look for, if you look at the camper we have here, they actually just have a gutter. They do not have the extrusion rail, which means we're gonna have to install the extrusion rail that comes in the kit. Next, we're gonna take our extrusion rail, we're gonna flip it over. You'll notice where the screw holes run down the center. We're gonna take butyl tape, it does not come in your kit, and we're gonna cover all of our holes from one end to the other. While we're at it, we're going to take these two brackets, we're going to flip them upside down, and we're going to put butyl tape over the holes on those as well. The hardware we're going to be using to mount our extrusion rail is going to be the rounded top or rounded head with the square bit. From here, we'll pull off our paper, and we'll take our extrusion rail. We're going to take that open end that we're going to be sliding our canopy into. We're going to run it all the way up against the bottom of our gutter on each end. We're going to make sure we're centered, and we're going to take it, push it against the wall. Then we'll take our hardware, we're going to start installing it into the rail. Once you have your rail installed, completely up to you, but what I like to do is where the butyl tape is pushing out the end, you can take a utility knife, and we don't want to push it onto the siding. We don't want to scratch it. All you got to do is really just score it a couple times and be able to peel it off. And it just makes it look cleaner. Next thing we're gonna do while we're up here is at the end of the extrusion rail, it doesn't matter which end you do, whichever end you're gonna be sliding the canopy into, where that end is, you're gonna take each corner, you're gonna take the bottom one and bend it down. We'll take the top one and bend it up. The reason we do that is when we slide the canopy in, we don't want the two corners to grab onto the fabric and tear it. Next, we're gonna take our side brackets. You'll notice there's a small, about a 45-degree angle. That's gonna face towards the bottom. This is gonna be up at the top. We're gonna go all the way up in the corner and all the way over to the edge, as far as we can go. For the hardware, square head, but they're gonna be flat. You're gonna have 5 for each bracket. Once you get one on, you're gonna repeat the process at the opposite end. Next, we're gonna take our canopy. On the end arm, there's gonna be a hole in the bottom. You're gonna have 2 rods. One end's gonna have a hole. We're gonna slide it in. You're gonna line it up with that hole. You're gonna have an end cap. There's this notch in it or slot in it. We're gonna line that up with the hole as well. Kit's gonna come with a Phillips head self-tapper. Once you get one side done, repeat the process on the other. Now it's completely up to you. What I like to do is take a paint marker and we're going to color this hardware so it matches the rest of it. Paint marker, you can just throw it in your bag, keep it in your camper. That way if you have any chips or anything anywhere, give you something to cover them up with. Next, with the next set of hands, we're going to slide our canopy into the end of the extrusion rail. You want this bead to slide right on that end that we opened up. If you find that it's a little bit hard to slide in there, you can always spray the inside of that extrusion rail with some soapy water. Slide all the way down. Next, you're gonna have a bracket like this. We're gonna slide it onto our arm. And the bracket, now we have 2 different slots. I'll show you here in just a second. Now when you install these rails, you want to make sure that this arm is facing up. It's not facing back and it's not sticking straight out. We're going to come to this bracket. And as I mentioned, there's 2 ways you can install this. Let's slide it off here just a little bit. You'll notice the different slots here. You have 2 lower ones and 2 upper ones. What that does, it allows you to bring this down or up, depending on how close it is to the top edge of that T-molding on your slide out. We're going to start with the more in the lowest position it can go. We'll get it lined up. We're going to have some little Allen head screws. Depending on which slots you install them on here, it's depending on which 2 slots or which 2 holes you're going to be installing these. We install them in the top 2, so that's where we're going to install them. These are going to keep the bracket from moving back and forth. Now we'll repeat that same thing on the other side. Next, we're going to have some large self-tappers. Once we have it centered back and forth, we're going to take this and we're going to push it back because we want the bottom side of this arm to be in here. So when we run our self-tapper through, you'll notice how that rotates up and this sits straight up and down. That's what we want to do. So we'll kind of push that back. There. And then you're gonna have 2 of these on each end. So you'll have one here and you'll have one here. And then of course you can come back and paint those if you want. Next thing we'll do is we're gonna grab our canopy, we're gonna take a pair of pliers, we're gonna spin it, and we're gonna pull this pin out. You're gonna have one of these at each end. These clips that you'd taken out, hold on to these. So if you ever have to get back up there to do any maintenance, anything like that, you can take these pins and stick them back in the roller, The reason you want to do that is if you just take the arm off, if you just take this rod off of here, that arm's going to sit there and spin. And then you have to wind it back up because there's a big spring inside of there. It's easier if you just put this in, you don't take a chance of getting hurt. Once you've got both your clips out, go ahead and roll your canopy out and in a couple of times. That'll allow it to center on the extrusion rail. So what we were finding was it was kind of twisting. So that means that the bead that goes into the extrusion rail wasn't adjusting like we wanted it to. So if you'll notice, you can get up here on a ladder, you'll notice how the angles or the folds here in the canopy are going. They're kind of going down towards that corner. You just kind of pull the bead just a little bit. We can flatten that out. Now we'll run it in and out again. Make sure we're not getting those creases in here. And then we can put our self-tappers into the bottom of our extrusion rail to keep our bead in place. Once you get everything installed, you're ready to go. You repeat the process on any other slide topper or slide out that you're installing the slide toppers on. So I'm gonna do it for a look at in installation on the Solera Slide Topper by Lippert Components on 2014 Prime Time Acer Travel trailer.